The act takes effect January 1, 2026. It criminalizes federal law enforcement officers who wear masks. That's a crime in California. We're not going to sell you this pizza because your nostrils are visible. Pull your mask up. Now they're like, take it off. Your mask is scaring us.
There were 200,000 non-domiciled CDLs issued to foreigners. Wow. We think 194,000 of them were issued illegally.
Gavin Newsom sued. This one coming down over the mask mandates and the rules saying that ICE officers cannot wear them if they're going to be arresting people, so that the illegal aliens and their co-conspirators can identify the ICE agents, follow them back to their homes, harass them, maybe even shoot at them and kill them. And this is a weird one. I don't know why they don't want you to wear a mask in California. I think that the ICE agents should all just say they're afraid of COVID. We have to put a mask on because we're afraid that we might die from COVID again. And what's California going to say? Not much. Checkmate. But anyways, here's the complaint now. They're suing Gavin Newsom. The DOJ came down and they said, we're now suing California over their mask ban, a mandate that you cannot wear the mask this time, and ID requirements for federal officers. Pam Bondi said, law enforcement officers risk their lives every day to keep Americans safe, and they don't deserve to be doxxed or harassed simply for carrying out their duties. California's anti-law enforcement policies discriminate against our officers, and they're designed to create risk for our agents. And so now we're suing you to stop this from happening. They sent this one in from the DOJ, Central District of California, United States of America versus Gavin Newsom, communist from California. They say, all right, listen, when Trump took office, our southern border was a disaster. We had narcotics, traffickers, smugglers, unvetted military age males from foreign adversaries, right? You have a little border war over the cartels and they all get activated. Now, under his leadership, President Trump and the government are now employing all available legal measures to end that crisis. But Gavin came out from California and Gavin vowed to push back against the president. His latest resistance is a mask ban and an ID requirement on federal agents. And this violates the Constitution, as even Gavi apparently appreciated when he acknowledged this. He said, our little mask ban, it appears we don't have legal authority for federal agents. He said that. Nevertheless, Governor Newsom signed the No Secret Police Act into law. The act takes effect January 1, 2026. It criminalizes federal law enforcement officers who wear masks. That's a crime in California. And the same day Newsom signed this, he also signed the No Vigilantes Act, saying non-uniformed federal law enforcement officers must visibly display ID that includes their agencies or either a name badge or a number or both, or maybe a little Nazi armband, as we've joked here before. Like No Secret Police Act, the No Vigilantes Act imposes criminal penalties on federal officers. It further requires federal law enforcement agencies to maintain and post a written policy on the visible identification of people. So everybody has to walk around with the scarlet letter. Now, both laws violate long-standing principles. We have this thing called the Supremacy Clause, and we're going to use it. The Intergovernmental Immunity Doctrine is an outgrowth of this principle. And what you're doing with these ridiculous illegal alien-loving acts are regulating the federal government. You're not allowed to do that. The DHS and others, we know that we have supremacy over you. And if you enforce these ridiculous laws against the federal government, they're going to endanger the lives of federal agents and their family members and undermine the effectiveness of our activities. So accordingly, we're not going to comply. The federal government does not intend to comply with these laws. So just eat it. We're putting our masks on. We're afraid of all the disgusting viruses that are coming out of California. We don't want to catch your COVID or your herpes in your mouth. Law enforcement officers, and they're spitting at them and stuff, so they need to protect themselves against bodily fluids coming from these disgusting, possibly infected people. Says here, the United States therefore brings this declaratory and injunctive action. We're going to stop you from this unconstitutional law. Of course, we're in court. We're in the right place. The parties are the United States of America versus Gavin Newsom, the communist. And of course, we know the Supremacy Clause exists. It says this Constitution shall be the supreme law of the land. It's been confirmed in case law as cited here. And we also have a duty to take care, Article 2, Section 3, that the laws be faithfully executed. And it extends over the whole country. DEA does their job. FBI does their job sometimes when they want to. And then Gavin came out and said no facial coverings for the performance of their duties, which is crazy because California was like one of the most mask intense places ever, right? Put your mask on. You walk in to like go buy a pizza. We're not going to sell you this pizza because your nostrils are visible. pull your mask up. Now they're like, take it off. Your mask is scaring us. No secret police. It's scaring the illegals. And your facial covering cannot conceal your identity, according to California law. Again, I just say you have an immune system problem. I have a sensitive immune system. I need to protect my body, my choice. The policy must prohibit sworn personnel from using a facial covering. And you do it, you probably want to wear gloves too. You don't know where a lot of these communists have been. The act also requires law enforcement agencies to post a written policy. They say, we're not following any of this crap, Gavin. Good luck. It says the United States is not going to comply with either law. We're not doing it. Federal law enforcement agencies cannot and will not comply with these laws. They are unconstitutional and they recklessly disregard the safety of officers. Now is an extraordinarily dangerous time to serve in this operation. ICE officers alone are facing more than 1,000% increase in assaults against them and an 8,000% increase in death threats against them. In fact, they're coming from rioters, illegal aliens, and highly sophisticated gangs like Tren de Aragua, MS-13, criminal rings, murderers, and the R's. And this is the DOJ writing this, okay? So it would be nice if our government had an appropriate response to go after these gang members. The threats to federal officers are serious and potentially deadly. They range from taunting, online doxing, vehicles being used as weapons, bounties being placed on their heads. For example, during ICE enforcement actions, individuals can be heard threatening to dox and find out where these officers live. There are even public websites that are seeking to publish information about them and harass and threaten them and their families. And where are all the Republicans at, suing these individuals for, defamation, posting their identities, and all of the things? Officers are therefore facing an intensely hostile environment that jeopardizes their safety. In October, a Halloween display in Houston included a mock execution ground. You mean like gallows? With figures depicting ICE agents hanging by their necks from homemade gallows. Oh, with zip ties in their pockets, surrounded by coffins and barbed wire, because they're a cult of death, as we know. Also in October, an illegal alien was arrested by Homeland after posting on TikTok soliciting the murder of the ICE agents. Now, some doxing and harassment incidents in California have resulted in federal charges. A man was arrested in September for posting an ICE attorney's personal information online, urging others to go and harass her. 3 women were indicted by federal grand juries for live streaming their pursuit of an ICE agent to his home and then posting his home address on Instagram. Sadly, this rhetoric of violence have also led to direct violence. In fact, some maniac in Dallas killed several detainees. Bullet casings found at the scene said anti-ICE. Now, the Ninth Circuit also found violence is impeding our operations, and these laws from Gavin that are meant to protect illegals from federal law enforcement are unconstitutional, and we're not going to comply. Federal agencies will not comply, and as a result, individual officers may be prosecuted. Nancy Pelosi and Kevin Mullen released an official statement declaring that state and local authorities may arrest federal agents if they break California law. Feels like it's kind of a repudiation of federal law, almost like an insurrection against the federal government via California, almost like it's like declaration of secession from the federal government. California presumably would not have expressly included federal law enforcement in the acts if they didn't want to do this. And so we're now suing, saying they can't enforce these, seeking, in this case, a declaration and a judgment that they're violating the Supremacy Clause, issue injunctions to prohibit them from enforcing either of these acts, and award anything else that you deem just and proper, signed by the Trump DOJ Elizabeth J. Nalin over from the Civil Division in California. And we had a couple of bits of reaction to this. We know that, of course, California, in addition to protecting their illegals, hands out CDLs, commercial driver's licenses, that are then used to do U-turns on the highway, killing people, that then are used by drunk illegals to come crashing into the back of other people driving on the roadway. Here is Secretary Duffy explaining more.
You mentioned 17,000 from California. We think other states have also issued many illegally commercial driver's licenses. There were 200,000 non-domiciled CDLs issued to foreigners. Wow. We think 194,000 of them were issued illegally and would not comply with our new rule. And so, again, you've aired these crashes, Maria. Yeah. They're horrific. When people can't understand the English language, they can't read signs, and they don't know the rules of our road. Terrible. That's a problem. Americans aren't safe. And we also see that there's CDL mills, commercial driver's license mills, where people aren't being properly trained. They're being pushed through, getting licenses, and then, again, driving across the country. If I can make one last point, Maria. Yeah. It's driving American truckers out of business and American trucking companies.
Yeah, and they're taking jobs that otherwise Americans could be taking. Here's Kristi Noem saying, look, if you're a criminal alien in North Carolina or elsewhere, your days of terrorizing Americans are over. Operation Charlotte's Web is fully deployed, and we will find you and arrest you. Trump and I are protecting the citizens of North Carolina and hopefully America. Here's Kristi.
The city of Charlotte Charlotte. This operation, Charlotte's Web, is underway. How's it going so far?
It's going good. We're using the investigative cases that we've built on these individuals in that area to go out and after the worst of the worst. We're going after people who've committed robberies, assaults, DUIs, getting them off the streets, keeping people safe. That is exactly what the leadership in the city should be partnering with us on and what the governor should be as well. But grateful that every single day I get to wake up and work for a president that just wants to protect the American people. So we've got many, many individuals we've already arrested and are bringing to justice and deporting, returning them back home to their countries. And all of that is built off of getting those worst of the worst off of our streets to make us safe again.
The city of Charlotte.
Kristi Noem and the Trump DOJ going after the sanctuary cities, operations in various locations around the country, lawsuits going after the state laws that are meant to stop, hamper, and hamstring the federal agents from doing their jobs, all now under a federal complaint in California. We'll keep our eye on it, see what happens next.